Join us at the International Tax and Investment Conference Fast Forward 2025, where industry leaders and experts will explore the future of ESG investing in the Philippines.
The country's already made a lot of progress in terms of creating opportunities for businesses to thrive.
If you think about ESG, it should be part of the business operation. So whether it is part of the product development.
We want to be global benefactors. No? We want to show the world that we're also contributing to betterment.
What we're after is securing a livable planet for the next generation.
We are now open for business.
It is a signal to the world. We are open for business.
I am thrilled to be here at the International Tax and Investment Conference Fast Forward 2025, hosted by the Asian Consulting Group. Today, we're diving into a highly relevant theme, promoting ESG investing in the Philippines. With a global shift towards sustainable and responsible business practices, this conference brings together some of the most influential leaders, policymakers, and economics, finance, and sustainability experts. We'll be hearing the valuable insights on how ESG, or environmental, social, and governance principles, are shaping investment strategies, driving economic growth, and creating a more sustainable future for the country. We'll have a first look at tax whiz Raymond Abrea's book, Reimagining the World Without Climate Change. Let's explore how businesses, government, and investors can collaborate to make ESG investing the new standard in the Philippines.
As the founder of Liter of Light, you've created a global movement, hindi lang sa Pilipinas. You started it as a simple social enterprise, di ba? Now you've created a global movement using sustainable and accessible solar lighting. How do you see ESG principles driving innovation in renewable energy solutions, particularly for the underserved communities?
I'm really proud of the narrative that we're trying to shift from just copying and importing movements that work abroad and then bringing it here to doing like self-sustaining and local initiatives that go abroad. It's a reverse story because they always look at Filipinos as recipients. So we want to be global benefactors. No? We want to show the world that we're also contributing to betterment. Now, with the ESG, we wanted it something na it's more than just a donation. It's a social investment. So when we teach people how to make Liter of Light, we teach them how to make it with local parts and, of course, arts and crafts. No? So we're looking for bamboo makers, pottery makers, weavers. We're now putting it into clothes. And then trying to get them to solve energy because ayaw namin yung Western model na messianic. No? I'm gonna come there and say, I and my invention will change the world. These are long-term solutions. So we really want the public to be part of it. We want really the people we're helping to be part of it. And the purest form of charity is to make ourselves obsolete.
For a lot of people who are not familiar with this, because you mentioned these are raw materials that are basically indigenous also, and I see plastic bottle here. So briefly, can you describe what this is and the raw materials that you're using?
So we're UNESCO ambassadors for this movement called the International Day of Light, recognizing the inventors of light, the people that makes businesses out of light, photographers, videographers, scientists, and they're trying to, can we connect it to the 1.4 billion without access to electricity? In the Philippines, 13 million. Now, we are saying that instead of importing it, which you put it on a box, you put it on a truck, the ship back here, almost 60% of your money is gone. Plus, the technology cannot be fixed. We said, why not mix it, no? Hindi lang one way, but can we have a local way to fix energy poverty for 30 million Filipinos without access? So, this one's repairable, it's fixable, but especially during disasters, we're the first ones there kasi we can make it by hand. Plastic bottles, of course, we don't have glass injection technology in the rural areas. We use bamboo, we use LED from motorcycles, and we use simple radio parts to be able to convert solar energy. So we have solar panel making also by hand, and it charges, and so everything is local. And by empowering that, you'll be able to make businesses here instead of creating businesses there and bring it here, and then it breaks and then uulit. We're saying to solve energy poverty, we need our own domestic system, or else we're always going to be trapped into importing. One of the most important parts of ESG is really partnership with people that have the local know-how. You know, we see a lot of them which is very strong with awareness, or corporates that run their own program. But sometimes, you know, it shifts, right? So the local initiatives are long-term. So we see a lot of, you know, corporate initiatives that after the money runs out, they move on to the next one and to the next one. So we really believe that they should partner with locals. Litter of Light is that kind of project. We partner with corporates, but we use that investment to teach women cooperatives to be able to build this solar. So even long after it's finished, that corporate ESG investment goes a long way. So what I want to say is yung cash burn is very dangerous kasi it's short-term for a long-term problem. We did that same thing where corporates buy our materials and then we just charge them, you know, extra for being able to do the corporate workshop. This has enabled us to go to 32 countries, have 212 staff around the world. Philanthropy does not work to change global problems, but social enterprises where you use your earnings as investments to flow back is the way that Filipinos should do. And so that's why we help almost 1 million people a year. It's because ESG is used as an investment rather than a show and tell, or worse, it's just a photo op na walang long-term objective.
Lip service.
That's what we're very scared of, na that capacity of what is called retained earnings. No? This money for ESG is the people's fund. It is the people's taxpayers' money that is withheld. Now, if you use that for you know, corporate salaries, corporate advertising, and only 2% actually goes to the people, you're misusing the ESG funds. So, once again, people have to understand that ESG is not corporate. It's actually withheld people or taxes of the people. So, it has this imbibed thing na you have certain rules whereby you will be able to use that money effectively or more effectively than government.
And the impact is long-term.
And the impact should be more. So it's very important that ESG is seen as accountable funds. Why not move it away from just PR into something that really works? If you partner with Litter of Light, it's something that we invest in production in the village level. And this is our magic formula to be able to expand long after the corporate partnership is gone.
You have been in the industry for quite a while, and there's a lot of talk not only in the large enterprise but also slowly in MSMEs, this ESG investing. Pero in your case, you know, having been in a lot of companies, how are the principles of ESG applied or integrated in company operations?
I think we have to change the notion first of what is ESG. No, I think gone are the days where the organization see ESG as a separate activity. Before we're doing ESG, we have a tree planting activity.
Pang mga
Right?
CSR pa nun.
CSR activity. We do this. If you think about ESG, it should be part of the business operations. So whether it is part of the product development, is it part of the business operational process, manufacturing process, or even as a business exercise. It can be as simple as you close your lights from 12 to 1 during lunchtime, or in the evening, you shut down now, you're being very conscious of how you consume energy. Right?
So it's like integrated in the whole process.
It's in the process and it's part of a day-to-day rather than a one-off activity. right? Because right now, especially earlier, the SEC chair, Emil is saying already, ESG reporting should now be part of the reporting of any corporation, no? SEC corporation.
At saka dati, hindi uso yan, di ba?
Hindi,
Parang
wala.
annual
Yes.
report lang. But
Oh, annual
now, I
report.
think, magkahiwalay na. May
Oo.
sustainability reporting.
Correct. And I think the challenge there is paano nga magiging hindi siya one-off? Kasi nga, I think 90% naghahanap ng foundation. Ano pwede natin gawin? Donate tayo. Okay na, part na. Okay na, report, check. Right? But if you think about it, ESG can somewhat help the bottom line. Right? If you put it, minsan sinasabi ESG is expensive. Extra trabaho yan eh. But if you think about it, right? If you are conserving the environment as part of the business process, it should help you become more efficient while saving the environment. Social also, for example, if you help your community, initially, when you say you're helping, you're providing jobs, livelihood, educating them, it's technically an expense item. But once the entire community moves up the socio-economic ladder, you get to benefit also because they become your real consumers. So I think companies should take a very active stance on how they view it, no? And I think media, the corporate sector, the private sector, and government should really educate so that the business leaders understand what real ESG is. Kasi kung hindi tayo makakaalis dun na talagang one-off activity or let's just do this, okay na yan, let's just do this, okay na yan. Kasi we're so focused on our day-to-day, right? Na kailangan kumita. And honestly, after COVID, lahat tumatawid, lahat nagsasabi, okay, balik na tayo sa normal, pero mukhang hindi bumabalik sa normal eh. So may pressure pa rin lahat ng negosyo. So biglang sasabihin mo, mag-ESG pa kayo. Parang wala na yan. Huwag yung muna isama yan na naghahabol pa kami. That's why kailangan may pivot dun in terms of the mindset. That we have to train the next generation. Or here, no? Kasi sensitive naman sila eh. Yung next generation, marunong naman eh. They're very much concerned about the environment, about their communities. But how is a big question mark. They have to be inside the operations, inside the product development, then they can see opportunities there.
Now, Donald, one of the key themes also of this event is basically to attract investments. Do you feel the tax reforms and the investment reforms or other incentives by the government to make it easier for businesses and foreign investors to thrive here in the Philippines?
I personally feel that we're somewhere in between. Okay, I don't think we provide the best benefits to attract foreign direct investments, but we're also not talagang deterrent, no? Kasi nga, a lot of companies know naman how to operate eh. So may konting under the table dyan, may konting, alam mo yun, may konting hindi siya ganun ka-structured na lahat computerized, lahat click-click, hindi pa tayo ganun eh. Right? So there's a way of operating business in the Philippines, right? To say na people are confident, I think kahit pa paano, there's certain level of predictability already. Alam natin na kahit pa paano our government is here or there, we're okay. Business and the consumers, we're 100 million, 120 million population. There's a big market for it. There's also a big labor market. So a consumer market and a labor market is there. No? But I think our biggest challenge from a competitiveness, maraming factors yan eh. Whether it's energy costs, whether it's, for example, yung labor natin, of course, hindi tayo pwede basta mag-fire ng workers. So many other considerations. No? But ESG as a whole, that's also a very big chunk. I remember before when we were doing our fundraising efforts as DITO CME, for the past 2 years, I was presenting all the way, Europe, mga European institutional investors, US, lahat yan, umikot kami. Kahit ng gabi na, nagpresent kami. After presenting our plans and programs and strategies, wala silang pakialam. First question, what are your ESG initiatives? Normal yan. Second,
Kasi sa kanila, well-placed na.
Oo, basta ayos na yan.
Second nature na
kayo
sa
na
kanila
bahala
yun.
dyan. Kayo na bahala dyan sa negosyo ninyo, pero ito yung mga tinitingnan namin. And doon ko nakaisip, teka lang parang ang laki pala ng points pag ESG. Second, actually, is what are your activities or investments in AI. So it's really tech in the environment talaga. So pag sinabi mo, may telco kami, may ganyan kami, parang anong ginagawa ninyo? And you cannot say, we are a startup. Wala pa. Naku, patay ka na. Right?
Which is, this question is really reserved for you. So sabi nga is, AI is transforming the telecom industry from customer service to network optimization. So how do you see AI contributing to more sustainable and efficient operations?
Marami, no? So I think you will see AI. There's no, people always say AI will solve all the problems, no? But there's no single AI who will do all that. And that is why it's very important that AI, what I call it, an AI maturity model, has to be applied in every organization. They have to look at the problem first rather than the tech first. In fact, if you look at AI adoption, 10% lang yan eh. yung investment sa AI. The investment is really on the people and the organization. Kailangan aware sila. They have to identify what are the business
Skilled
problems,
sila, yeah.
the skills, and then later on, find the appropriate technology to answer, to solve that. So pag inuuna mo, ay may AI tech dyan, gamitin natin, pero di mo nga alam ano yung problema eh. So dapat, it's the other way around. First is the identifying the business context. So where you are placed versus your customers, where are you placed versus your competitors, right? Understanding what is the business problem and then finding the AI solution. In many cases, sinasabi ko na, when I've talked to so many companies, what AI can help me? Bigyan mo kami ng isang AI tool. Sabi ko, ano yun? Baliktad. Baliktad. Alamin mo muna ano yung problema. Hahanapan kita ng tool. Di ba? So, ang hirap, di ba? Pupunta ka sa doktor, sabihin mo, bigyan mo ako ng, pagalingin mo ako. Hindi ko nga alam anong nangyayari sa'yo eh. Right? So, it has to be inside out. And that's why sabi ko, it doesn't matter whether, kanya-kanyang problema yan. Kaya, even if you have 3 telcos, iba-iba AI application, AI solution. Kasi iba-iba yung
challenges din nila.
challenges, the maturity, right? Theoretically, if you compete with one another, fine, that's the external competitive landscape. But internally, marami ng chess moves yan. Marami ka ng chess pieces where you want to play. Whether sa operations yan, or sa customer yan. But even in the customer segment, anong klase gusto mo i-execute? Hindi naman chatbot lang lahat eh. Para lahat mag-chatbot, di siya ganun eh. Right? How do you use AI to mine data? How do you use AI to programmatic advertising? So, maraming segments yan. And in many cases, sa dami niyan, even in the customer, communicating with the customer, ang dami niyang pwedeng platforms. So it's all about finding the right fit. At the same time, I always say, pag AI, kailangan may data about the customer ka, data about the operations. So even if you know the problem, you know the AI solution, pero wala ka palang information, anong gagawin ng AI? AI cannot move without data. I think AI has to be approached from a whole of nation approach, right? Because if you look at it, if it is very much fragmented, kanya-kanya lang, we will be left behind again. The Philippines, we have shown, even in the year 2000 pa lang, when technology is out there, the internet is here, we are a country of users eh. We are never associated with technology experts. Magaling tayo gumamit ng social media, magaling tayo mag-chat, kahit na TikTok, magaling tayo, everything. Basta we are a user generation. We are not a creator, we are not a producer, we're not a nation of thinkers. Therefore, it requires a top-down approach, where the government, for example, should make certain investments in AI, working with the private sector, because I don't think the government on its own will have the budget, nor the realistic budget, nor the foresight. So they have to have a private-public partnership in setting up, for example, AI centers of excellence, maybe AI curriculum. So para yung next generation natin, tapos na yung tayo, yung next generation, i-train na sa AI. Medyo late na tayo kasi if you look at India, if you look at China, they're being trained on AI already. Mga bata, mga robotics nila, yung mga programming nila, ibang level na yung mga yun eh. So tayo hahabol, okay lang yun, okay lang. But magaling tayo once we are enabled.
With the growth of the Philippine economy so far, what's your outlook? Would it continue to grow as well when you compare it with the prospects for the global economy?
The Philippine economy has been growing at faster rates. It's been growing at 5.6 percentage points of GDP. But the presentation was talking about long-term perspective, right? So the key question we were asking and discussing is, as the Philippines transitions to upper middle income status, how can it safeguard and how can it accelerate growth, right? And this is challenging for multiple reasons. First, we have a challenging global economic environment today, and so countries really need to do a lot to safeguard growth in that context. But two, there is a general trend that as countries reach upper middle income status, growth tends to ease and economic convergence tends to slow. So there's been a lot of World Bank work on this topic, what we describe as the middle income trap. So really the challenge for the Philippines is to undertake reforms, attract investment, safeguard its macro-fiscal stability, to ensure that it doesn't fall into that trap, but instead rather grow at the kind of rates its Philippine Development Plan is targeting. So that's really what the presentation was about. How can we ensure that the growth that has been very impressive, has been very job-rich, that has been inclusive in terms of seeing faster growth rates in the lower income regions of the Philippines, how can we sustain that impressive growth? That's really the challenge and the question.
During the part of the presentation, you also mentioned some areas where the country should focus on. Can you elaborate more on these 4 areas?
Absolutely. So the country's already made a lot of progress in terms of creating opportunities for businesses to thrive. For example, recent reforms have sought to attract investment, foreign direct investment, in critical areas, in infrastructure, in telecommunications. The challenge is how to continue that reform momentum. And one challenge that we see is that the cost of business is still quite high, right? So, for example, it takes much greater number of days to set up a business, whether you're domestic or whether you're foreign, in the Philippines than it does in other competing economies. So regulatory reforms are critical to really reduce the cost of doing business. This is part of the agenda about how to create greater opportunities for firms to grow, right? The other agenda is really how to build up the capabilities of the existing and future labor force, right? So investments in improving the quality of education, investments in improving the quality of healthcare, these are critical so that you have a healthier, more educated pool of people from which to hire. And then we also need to encourage firms to invest more in upskilling the existing labor force. You have technological disruptions like AI significantly changing the business environment, right? So if you want to compete, then firms need to really upskill in technology, in ICT skills, in AI, so that the Philippines can continue to grow and compete in the global economy. So we really talk about these type of reforms. How do you create opportunities? How do you build greater capabilities? And underpinning that, how do you safeguard macro fiscal stability? And this is where it's important to continue implementing the medium-term fiscal framework for the economy, for the government, right? So manage expenditure spending carefully and improve domestic revenue mobilization so that you continue to lower public debt, you continue to rebuild fiscal buffers. Why is this key? Because macro fiscal stability provides the certainty that investment needs to come in and hopefully create the kind of jobs to propel the economy going forward.
What area do you think the Philippines would really focus on so that investors outside the Philippines will feel that and they'll be more confident in investing here in the Philippines?
So, thank you. So this is a great question. It's a tough one to summarize. But broadly, I would say that what we see when we look at the policy and regulatory environment in the Philippines, we have the World Bank's Business Ready report that ranks the Philippines compared to other countries on a number of dimensions. And when you look at the policy and regulatory environment in the Philippines, you see that the country designs very good laws. So it does very well on creating good laws on tax, on laws to encourage investment. But where the challenge often lies is in implementation. So, for instance, with tax policy, the international experience shows that if you ease the cost of paying taxes, for example, when you invest in technology to make it much easier for households and businesses to pay their taxes, when you clarify and simplify tax rules so that the average household, the average business understands them, when you, in other words, reduce the amount of time and costs taken to file taxes, tax compliance goes up, right? So voluntarily, because most people are not really trying to cheat. Most people maybe either make mistakes or too lazy to really put in a lot of effort. So if it's expensive, maybe they don't fully comply. If you make it easier, this is what the international evidence shows, right? So a challenge for the Philippines is you have good tax policies. How do we make sure that the revenue administration is modernized, that the ease of paying taxes is lowered so that voluntary compliance goes up? The same when we look at investment in infrastructure, right? So you often see that there are laws like the PSA, Reform Amendment Act, that open up the space for FDI, right? Foreign direct investment, which is key, right? For bringing financing, bringing know-how, skills into the country. You see that the government is also investing in strategic sectors, right? This is all very, very important, but then sometimes there's a gap where in some of the implementing agencies, some of the regulations are still outdated. right? So that becomes a source of friction. If I have to, file the same paperwork in multiple agencies to get my business license, it makes it much more expensive, takes me much longer to set up my business license compared to if I was doing it in a country like Singapore or Hong Kong, right? So the challenge is there really to just ensure full implementation of these recent good reforms that the government is undertaking, so that, across different LGUs, subnational, different agencies, so that, you have de facto improvements in the cost of doing business.
Wow, indeed valuable insights from the senior country economist of the World Bank, Mr. Jaffar Al Rikabi. Open for business. We'll be back. Stay tuned.
Great ideas are abundant here today. I'm Gia Gonzalez, and it's exciting to learn about investment possibilities here at the International Tax and Investment Conference Fast Forward 2025, where industry leaders, policymakers, and experts are tackling the future of ESG investing in the Philippines unbuckle. I'm on the ground connecting with attendees to get their thoughts, insights, and reactions, mostly looking to know how they see ESG influencing their industries and whether they believe ESG investing is truly the way to move forward for the country. Let's hear directly from the people experiencing this event firsthand. When I went in the room, I heard you say this quote, "Sustainability is our collective responsibility." Can you elaborate that for our OFB watchers?
What's happening in the world, especially climate change, it's a worldwide problem. That's why exactly in our own corners, like in the case of the SEC, we have to take initiatives. Like in the case of our publicly listed companies whom we regulate and supervise, we have to make sure that they follow sustainable practices. Well, it may not stop all those typhoons as they call it now, but at least we have to start somewhere. All of us should be able to adopt and embrace ESG and sustainable practices, because otherwise we'll probably be losing our existence here. In fact, when we were recognized by the UN Conference on Trade and Development, ISAR honors, we said if there's anything that incentivizes us to work hard for sustainable and sustainability reporting, it's because we're talking of survival of humankind, not just about getting some award. So we're doing ourselves a favor here because we can see climate change right at our very front door. The weather is simply crazy. You can't understand it anymore. Yes.
As of now, do you think the Philippine government is doing enough to promote ESG investment?
Yeah, because that's an investment growth strategy. No, there are trillions of dollars in funds out there. We have global fund managers looking for investments where they can place, and normally part of the metrics that they are looking at is that you have to embrace ESG factors, which is through those disclosures. So they just don't invest to anyone, especially the polluters, before they even put in as private equity or as venture capitalists. They have to make sure that the company is ESG compliant, at least with its disclosures.
You know, I find you very inspiring. You wear so many hats. Aside from being an actress, you're also a celebrity entrepreneur. And also, as I was saying, congratulations on being the official ambassador of ACG. How has becoming a part of the ACG family impacted your perspective when it comes to tax and ESG investing?
For me, for us to be good citizens, first step is you have to be a good taxpayer, diba? So it's really nice to be part of that advocacy and of course gain a lot of knowledge, not just in tax but also about business in general. So it's an honor. Yeah.
Now we're here because we're promoting ESG investment. So how will you use your platform to promote, especially to people our age or of the Gen Z, when they invest, to be more responsible?
One of my advocacies also is taking care of the environment, diba? I've been volunteering with different NGOs and foundations to prevent climate change and everything. So it's nice kasi it gets integrated na for me, taking care of the environment, it's very important because how can our business last long? How can we live like how many years from now if we don't take care of it, diba? And yung investments, once you invest, who will take advantage of it? Sino mag-harvest? No, it's also us. I think it's the younger generations. It should start from us.
I've had a glimpse of your story when you started off as a model, so you've been exposed to the fashion industry for a while. Tell me how this impacted your passion in fashion and also still keeping it sustainable.
Basically, I live in the fashion industry since what? I was 16 years old. I started as a model, and my exposure with different designers in the Philippines basically introduced me into this world. So that's my exposure, and I live by it. I live in Paris for 8 years, and that's where I started the bag industry. So I created miniatures, and all the artisans in the Philippines actually handcrafted it. Yes, so I basically gathered a lot of materials from like trash and something like wood eaten by termites. So I created bags out of that. And I also like using corn husks, so anything that was discarded materials that was not of use. So I made a fashion out of it, a very useful, beautiful and useful bags. That's how I started. And then moving back to LA, after the pandemic, I just realized that I wanted to explore in the clothing industry. So 2 years ago, I would say, or a little less 2 years ago, so I started with kids' clothes actually. So using discarded denims, then I would add on like patches of crochet. So that's how I started. And I introduced that actually with the Manila International Fashion Week here. And that was the start. And now I'm showing globally. I just came back from London and Paris, showing a collection, which actually I'm very proud of because my artisans, the laborers are coming from the Philippines. Yes, so imagine how good the Filipinos are in doing.
I admire the fact that even if you're based or you have businesses in other countries, you're giving job opportunities for our fellow Filipinos in our country. And so it's also a great way to promote the Filipino art as well and the skills that we have. And so I just want to ask, going back to when you started picking trash and making it into something beautiful, usually people, when they see trash, ew, I don't want to touch it. What sparked that fire to turn it into something beautiful, especially in fashion?
Real reason is that it's like, you know, nowadays what's going on. If you see the ocean, the plastic floating there, because of fast fashion, I always believe it, you know, if you want the world to treat you well, then treat the world well too. So what you give is what you receive. So I think with a little, you know, my own way, just in my little own way, to start is in fashion, you know, because people always look at us on a different level. So if you start with us, you know, then people would then follow.
In the Philippines, fashion is something that we are starting to thrive in. How are you able to integrate fashion as well as sustainability?
We have so many scrap materials, so we can't just throw it away. And we have to use the reuse, recycle, so that we can able to save the planet. Like me, I have so many scrap materials, so I'm trying to work it out that I can able to make also another clothing for people. And I don't believe in fast fashion also. Fast fashion is something that you just throw away after you use it. It's not good for the planet.
As a global fashion designer, I'm sure you've been to other places as well. Kamusta ang Pilipinas pagdating sa sustainable fashion?
We've been doing that. Some of the designers are doing it already, but we're encouraging more designers to do it also. In other countries, they're already doing it, like in New York. But here in the Philippines, we're trying to use our own local fabric also, so that we can help out also our weavers and people in the industry.
Speaking of, ESG, right? It's about being responsible investing. Sa pagiging fashion designer nyo and incorporating katulad ng mga Filipino materials, paano to nakakatulong sa mga local designers or artisans natin?
Actually, malaking tulong to sa mga local artisans natin kasi nabibigyan natin sila ng jobs. At the same time, nagagamit natin yung mga resources natin, yung mga natural resources like pineapple fiber, banana fiber, and of course, yung mga recycling materials like yung mga used clothes, old denim, so we can use that and create a new clothes for, for the fashionistas, for everyone.
Nagbibigay tayo ng bagong trabaho at we're using our Filipino resources. So locally made po yung mga dinedesign yung damit din?
Yes. And I'm very proud of it kasi I am showcasing my collection not just here but internationally. And I'm very proud being Pinoy.
I love that. We have to bring back that nationalism ng mga Filipino natin.
I am one of the founders of Manila International Fashion Week. So from our organization, we always have the competition for young designers, emerging talents, and we campaign to use like old denims and to create a new creation, new clothes. We're doing it annually. So we're giving a chance to those artisans, young designers, and ipakita nila yung galing nila when it comes to design. At the same time, natutulungan natin yung environment. Hindi natin kailangan bumili ng mga bagong denim. So we can use yung mga old denims natin. At hindi pwedeng like itapon na lang. So we can recycle it.
So I find your advocacy and whatever you do in life intriguing. It's rare. It's not common in the Philippines. Tell me more about it.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's the reason why also I'm such passionate about it. It's that it's something that's really missing in the discussion, the public discussions today. When it comes to animal rights, and it really connects to all the injustice that humans are going through. We can talk about food injustice, food insecurity. We can talk about the right to breathe fresh air, the right to protect our own forest, the right for public health. And so all of this is linked to the injustice that the animals are suffering from every day. So I think it's just a sign of our broken relationship with nature overall. And we are part of nature as humans. And today it's totally broken. So the only way we could see sustainability in the long term is to relearn this relationship, learn how to respect the animals, because when we will respect them, we will automatically respect our environment, respect our bodies through a healthier lifestyle as well. So there's so many things that are actually converging in this advocacy. So I think it's very important to talk about it here in the Philippines today.
You are one of the panels in the AI and Food and Agri panel. So what is your take on AI in the agriculture?
Oh, I think AI could be good in really empowering a lot of traceability in the supply chain, because more and more, if you want to measure sustainability and reporting on sustainability, putting AI could really help with traceability from the farmers itself, from the production up to the market. And at the same time, there's a lot of technologies and how you can use AI to detect pests in the farms or in different crops, and could be implemented better with proper solutions that would really change how the farmers could really benefit from that one.
Wow. In the current agriculture field in the Philippines, is AI widely spread already, or are we still in the process of getting it there?
Not yet. Yeah, none that I've known of. So some of the tech that we're getting are really a little bit medium tech, like all the greenhouses, and of course, the drip irrigation and drone system, but not much of AI yet in the Philippines agriculture sector. And maybe that would be a good intervention to really, help a lot of young people, to encourage them to be in agriculture sector, because our farmers are aging. And if the children of the farmers would be taught on how to better, information for the farms. I'm really interested on how we can use AI actually to navigate weather, climatic patterns so that, they can project and plan their production if typhoon is coming, or, what's a signal of typhoon, and also precipitation and drought. It would be wonderful if it could be related to the production pattern and weather conditions.
When technology is involved, do you think farming now is very inclusive with AI? Would it change the image of farming in our country? And do you think more youth would be involved in this sector?
For sure, it will. Especially a lot of young people actually are interested in agriculture, but they don't know how. We need to put the excitement out there, but we also need to be aware that it will still enhance our production, enhance the information to the farms, better the supply chain, but not also replacing the people in the supply chain, right? Because the agriculture sector is still like one of the largest workforce. So hopefully the AI could really contribute on their efficiency, or build more transparency and effectiveness into the supply chain, and more so efficiency, right? To build more efficiency from production, supply chain, and of course, consumerism.
Can you tell us or give us a good picture of how AI can contribute to alleviating the food security in the Philippines?
Yeah, so I think maybe Philippines and on a global scale, one of the key issues of the food industry really is waste. So there's waste in the planting period, harvesting, transporting the produce to manufacturers or the restaurant industry, and even in cooking and in consumption. And as much as 50% or over 50% of all the food that is produced actually goes to waste. So I think AI might be an enabler to really track where the inefficiencies are and probably set the right level of production, consumption, and conversion to make sure that that 50% doesn't really either is repurposed or reduced in terms of percentage and reduction in the footprint for food manufacturing.
I mean, in terms of efficiency, definitely AI has no problem with that. How do we draw the balance? Because ESG also it stands for social as well. And so in terms of job opportunities for Filipinos, how do we draw the line giving AI that task, but also job opportunities for Filipinos?
Yeah. You'll still have the same level of, employment or opportunities for employment, especially here in the Philippines, because as I said, they produced, what is produced normally gets a big percentage goes to waste. So I think you'll have a higher efficiency across the different steps in the food chain, and more opportunity, in terms of the higher efficiency will give the key players in the industry active to produce, the right level of food that's required. I don't think it will be an impact in terms of employment. In fact, it might be an enabler to even more.
Maybe it's easing more of the job ng ating kababayan. Agree. As an executive vice president, COO, how do you see your company contributing into being ESG aligned?
In terms of how we operate, we call it the triple bottom line. Obviously, profit is the key bottom line for most companies, but we also look at objectives as well as goals for people development and planet preservation. So the approach there is to set your profit goal, but align it with your planet preservation goal as well as people development goal, and see the business as a total. And then under all of that, that activity would be strong corporate governance as an infrastructure and as an enabler, so that we're able to measure and keep everyone honest in terms of those goals. From there, let's say on the planet side, there's so much activity that is put into that. For example, in sustainability in fishing, a big part of our business is marine caught material, fish, tuna, sardine, etc. And so we are members of the International Seafood Sustainability Foundation, and which espouses the right sustainable fishing practices in terms of how we source our meat products, in terms of how we convert our products. We use clean energy for our biggest manufacturing facility. 70% of our energy is clean. We continue to expand our solar energy capacity. In terms of finished products, we are plastic neutral or net zero plastic. All of the plastic we put out there for 11 of our core brands, the same amount of plastic that we put out there is actually sequestered back and repurposed for other uses. And so many more, sustainability initiatives on the planet side. On people, we're key in terms of protein delivery. About 9 out of 10 households have our product. We make sure that our products are affordable, progressively healthy, and obviously a delight to our consumers. When you sum all of that up together, over 6 billion servings of protein on an annualized basis is a key enabler for the health and I guess satisfaction of consumers here in this country.
What specific outcomes or changes do you hope this event will drive in the Philippine investment landscape?
Number one, we really want to have this collaboration with both the government and the private sector because we believe to attract more foreign investors, we need to make sure that we set not just the tone but the policies, the processes to be more inviting and less costly. So by bringing them all together, we are not just discussing the issues but we are actually resolving it through their own initiatives and by government hearing as well what the private sector is doing. So I think this is the best opportunity to have that collaboration and today is the day because everyone is here, both the policymakers, the business leaders, the industry champions, and our sustainability advocates as well.
Diba, pag may mga summit na ganyan, parang may mga manifesto, may mga agreements na sinasign. Is that going to happen here?
Well, we will have a pledge of support. But the pledge of support is not an MOU or a manifesto, but it's more of a commitment from all sectors, from the private sector, from the government sector, to make sure that we commit to work together to make sure that we will achieve the sustainable future. Kasi it's not easy, especially that this is not a local problem, this is a global problem. Climate change is not a Philippine problem, it's a global problem. But at the same time, Philippines don't have that fundings. That's why we need to talk about the global carbon tax. That's why we need the participation and cooperation of the multinational companies, those with money, to make sure that we can move things.
One of your statements before was, if it's just a tax conference, it might be boring. So you added investments.
Yeah.
But what is more exciting today is that your theme is ESG. So how do you see the current ESG investment climate in the Philippines? Are local businesses ready? Are investors embracing sustainable practices as a meaningful scale?
I think that's also the challenge, especially through the help of our media partners like you, to make sure we lower it or we bring it down to the MSMEs. Because right now, the multinationals have started adopting ESG. But as the micro, the small, maybe that's even a new terminology for them. But it has to be integrated in their vision, in their strategic roadmap, in their budget, to make sure that they can attract foreign investors. Because that's what we discussed before. This is ESG sustainability is not just a marketing campaign. It's also an opportunity to attract foreign investments.
Wow. Now, after the conference today, the roadshow will happen. What's the level of interest so far in the countries where you will do the roadshow?
Very much interested because we've been doing this for more than 5 years. In fact, we met already with Tourism Secretary, with Trade Secretary, and we are already coordinating with all our embassies and the Philippine Trade and Investment Centers in more than 25 key cities around the world. Asia, Australia, Middle East, Europe, Canada, and US. So it's really, immediately after this, we're already packing our bags and ready to go.
And one of the highlights today is the launching of your book. Marami ka ng libro, but how is this different from the other books that you have written?
I don't want to cry, but you know, this is a series, Reimagining the World. Maybe this conference is also an opportunity to ask everyone to join me in reimagining a world without corruption, without climate change, and the last part is without poverty. And today we focus on climate change. But it's a continuous struggle, it's a continuous journey to work together to bring the policymakers, the business sector with money to make sure that we can really make an impact. And at the end of the day, what we're after is securing a livable planet for the next generation. Na walang korupsyon, na walang climate change, at wala ding kahirapan. It's a very noble cause, so it's exciting. So it's through the book, but hopefully as they flip the pages, they will feel and have that passion that we all have right now.
The man of the hour, Raymond Abrea, open for business. We'll be back. Stay with us. And our buzzword for the week is sustainable finance. It refers to the consideration of ESG factors when making investment and financing decisions. It has been a truly insightful day here at the Fast Forward 2025 conference.
We've heard powerful discussions on how ESG investing can drive sustainable growth and long-term value creation in the Philippines. From government leaders and global economists to business pioneers, it's clear that ESG principles are no longer just an option, but a necessity for responsible and forward-thinking investments. Until next time, let's continue moving forward, investing with purpose, and building a sustainable future for the Philippines. And with that, our quote of the week is from British archaeologist Phil Harding. He said, "Without environmental sustainability, economic stability and social cohesion cannot be achieved." Maraming salamat sa isang oras na pagsama sa amin upang tunghayan ang isang makabuluhang usapan ukol sa negosyo dito lang sa Open for Business. Hanggang sa susunod na linggo, samahan nyo kaming muli dito sa Open for Business. Catch us too on Facebook and YouTube. Like and subscribe on our social media page at Net25TV. We will bring you more insights from industry experts, thought leaders, CEOs, and featured SMEs. Together, let us help encourage business development in the Philippines. Sharpen your business acumen, feel the pulse, and set the trend for as long as you are informed and open for business. This is Cesar Vallejos. Marami pong salamat.